off when you step in, please. Murder call me flowers when I plant these seeds. We can go for hours. Angel in the skies, good shorty bad. Supernovas when you get back.
Hello and welcome to RTFKT Spaces. This is a big one. Are you guys ready? We have Dre up on stage as my co-host and compound, waiting for Cass to join us, but we have the legend, the one and only, Mr. Zaptio up on stage. Has anyone ever called you Mr. Zaptio before?
No, that's the first one.
Mr. Zaptio. I love it.
It's catchy.
Yeah, it might be the new
It
thing.
might be. Oh my god. Can I be responsible for something like this? I will take credit. How are you, Zap? What's going on?
All good. Deep in the trenches. We've got a lot of work going on. We've got the whole team grinding, but really happy to make the time to jump on this spaces with everyone.
We really appreciate you for coming on. Honestly, we can imagine how busy it must be, but I've been trying to brainstorm on what to talk about, and I want to dig deep. Like, I'm talking way before Artifact, way before Frey Customs. I don't know if you're ready for this.
Damn, I didn't know what I was signing up to, but let's do it.
Let's go. Hello, Cass. How are you?
Hey, I'm just ready to hear all these details. You said you going back to the inception, to the first drawing from the Mr. Zaptio.
We need to know where all of this creativity and all this genius came from. So let's go back to school, Zap. What was your favorite subject back at school? And who were some of your biggest inspirations?
Wow. So with school, I was always like one of those people that didn't really pay attention in class, but got all the work done. I loved art as like a main subject, but it wasn't kind of my main strong point. I was a big sociology and history nerd, and then I actually was studying science for the longest time, and actually was pursuing to become like a doctor or a vet for a while, but then dropped that. But yeah, my school experience was pretty interesting. I had like a diverse friend group, and I think like big inspirations at the time. I got into fashion at a really young age and technology. Was lucky enough to witness like early crypto with Bitcoin mining in 2013, and was always passionate about like the future of this sort of technology and how it could change the world. But I think my main passion, like growing up, was fashion and sneakers. At a young age, I started capitalizing on social media. I set up Instagram pages at a network of about 25 pages, all focused on sneakers and fashion, and was just building up an audience. At one point, it had about 10 million reach weekly and like cumulative follower account of 5 to 10 million. And at the time, I was just working out what to do with these different pages. Some of them I sold to brands, and then from there, I started developing them into different businesses.
Okay, but how? How did your brain even come up with such a genius idea? Did you have anybody around you that was doing kind of similar things, or are you just a genius?
I don't know. I just was like bored of what I was seeing on social media, to be honest. And I saw that there was like opportunity. I think the real key like skill that I have is curation, like understanding what could work or what people would like. And then the experience of running these pages for like 2 to 3 years really gave me a grasp of like what works and what doesn't in terms of like social media content. And then from there, I think my like pivotal moment in that was I had like a really big footwear page displaying different sneakers, and then from there I had loads of celebrities following and not understanding like, oh, how do we get these shoes? So from there I started developing like businesses like customization, because me personally, I was a big sneakerhead my whole life, and got bored of some of the designs and silhouettes, and thought there was an opportunity to like democratize access and like develop new designs that haven't been seen before. And then that really just took off, like with the custom footwear. We went viral with like an Air Force One custom. And then from there, it kind of snowballed into different like business ventures. I think the coolest thing that I did and like the best memory was when Virgil contacted me. At the time, I was a huge Kanye Virgil fan and managed to go to a lot of his early events when he was starting up Pyrex Vision and getting some great insight into how the industry works. And when he reached out, it was kind of like a full circle moment for me. And then, yeah, from there, just opportunities kept popping up and expanding into different things. Foot Locker contacted me and asked, like, oh, we want to increase foot traffic into our stores. So I developed like a custom sneaker activation that we scaled across multiple different countries. And then from there, I don't know, like my path was just popping up in front of me. And it took many different turns and gave me like a really wide experiences in terms of like running grassroots startups and managing everything from like company inception, marketing, curation, content creation. So yeah, it was a pretty wild ride, honestly.
You've had experience in all different areas of making a business happen. And it's like when you go through your Instagram, you can see exactly how it all, like all the dots connected. And yes, I've been digging deep and I just bumped into the Flower Bomb AF1s. Can you speak a little bit about that and how that kind of pushed the success of Frey Customs?
Yeah, so that was an early one. Started Frey with co-founder Wiz, and at the time it was just us like supplying demand that we had through the Instagram pages. We did this Air Force One with like a flower patch that went extremely viral, and we based with my knowledge of like how content works, that shoe went everywhere, and we were flooded with orders. So I think that was like a key milestone in the journey of like having. I think we had like 6,000 orders for them at the time, and getting them was pretty much impossible. But then from there, it just kind of expanded into different opportunities appearing. And I think it was just like vision of doing things differently to what was done. I think at the time, even customs was a saturated market with everyone doing the same thing of just like painting on top of shoes. And that's something that you can't scale. So we were looking into methods of like opening up the process to be able to do more. And then I think followed the next follow up after that was when Louis Vuitton and Supreme did their first major collaboration. And I was queuing up, managed to get some of those pieces. And then we thought, let's cut them up and make them into shoes. And that I think is one of the most viral videos I had. I think like over 2 million plays on my personal Instagram. It was shared everywhere. But just creating sort of outrageous viral content was the way to bring eyes onto what we are doing and get people to join in the fun.
Zap, you're going through my questions really quickly, and it's really annoying.
Wait, I got some follow-ups. Because this...
Yeah, so do I.
Yes,
so do
let's
I.
go.
I'm excited, man. I got them too.
This is blowing my mind. Like, it's crazy that you could even have the inception of thought to think these things in the very beginning. But what I'm learning from what you are saying is you would have taken the steps, and as you were walking through your journey, you were getting what you were supposed to do. You were downloading the thoughts and the imagination and the foundation of where you were supposed to go. So the point behind all of this is just keep stepping, and then you'll figure it out how to take the next step from the present moment that you are in. So I appreciate you even dropping this knowledge. Like, that's crazy. But secondly, speaking of crazy, you cutting up the Supreme Louis Vuitton collaboration to put on some shoes? It's nuts. That's banana nuts bread, man. So I don't want to go too far too quickly, but I do have a main question where I want to ask, and maybe we can go back after I ask this one. But what was it that clicked at the point for you when you said, "Yo, I want to create shoes like this, and with 3D rendering, I want to be able to create what Artifact is right here today"? At what point did you have that thought process come to you and say, "This is the move for me to make"?
I think it's a collection of different experiences. I think meeting Benoit and Chris, it kind of all clicked. But to give some clarity, so I was doing the custom footwear. On the side, I had like an automation company and then another company in like fashion sustainability. through those two other companies and the footwear, I was making a lot of. I've been a gamer my whole life as well. But I was working a lot with FaZe Clan and different people at FaZe Clan, and I saw like firsthand how before like gamers were seen as like nerds in the basement, and then there was this like fashion crowd that's fully gatekeepers. And for me, I was always trying to break into these different scenes, and then realizing that all of these scenes are like merging into one. We were doing like IP licensed like game sneakers. I think we did the first collaboration with Xbox where they gave us 5 of their IPs for gaming sneakers, and then met up with Benoit, who DM'd me at the time from Fnatic, to do a project together. And like we met up and we connected because he has a fashion background, a gaming background, and we just became friends. And then through there, he introduced me to Chris to work on a project together. And at that time, Chris was actually putting gaming skins on sneakers, and that was his top viral content. And with my content background, it like everything just clicked up. And I think like all the paths that we were working on of like fashion, gaming, skins, it just made like perfect sense. And we really aligned that there was no brand that did this together, and we had the very unique, very niche experiences to build this brand of the future together. So I think like us sitting down and discussing that, it kind of all clicked that there's a huge opportunity to do this, and we should. And the funny thing at the time is like we all had our prior successes, and it wasn't like we've had all different experiences and been in different companies. And at the time, we all had our own companies and engagements that we had to do, and we were all kind of like, let's close the book on everything that we've done and let's jump in this like full force together. And I think that was like a super special moment. We didn't know exactly like how it was going to work and what we were going to do, but we knew that like with our experience and with like vision. And I think it's like similar to like a lot of my past experiences. Like I know what would work or not what could work, and people don't see that straight away. And I think the persistence is like a key part of like all of our experiences, that we don't give up and we keep pushing it until it actually does work. So yeah, and then at that time we raised money, which was a very interesting experience. And then we were like, okay, the world is not ready for virtual sneakers yet. So we set up a workshop in the UK, and actually we're like, okay, let's sell like physical custom sneakers and give people as an extra an NFT. At the time, we just called them digital collectibles. Like during the 2018, 2019 phase of this space, there was like a few marketplaces who used the term NFT, but there wasn't really a market. It was very, very niche. So we adopted that strategy at first because we're like, people know the proposition of like buying a physical product. It's what's happened for thousands of millions of years. And then, so we set up this whole workshop and we were trying to do it, and then COVID kicked in, and that really affected the business because we spent so much on setting up this workshop to produce physical footwear, and supply chains were just ruined. So it forced us to make hard decisions, like pivot and go, okay, let's go to our long-term vision, which was always like people will want digital assets more than they would physical. But there was a lot of hurdles, but I think the key part is like our vision never changed, and we knew that this is the future and we just need to keep finding avenues to do it. And I think our first like sun rising moment, because like doing all these things, it's like a lot of pressure. When we launched the Cyber Sneaker, which was our first NFT on Super Rare, and then it was like the highest selling virtual item, we knew that we kind of were on the right path.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So it's another point picked up here was COVID hitting after you guys setting up this foundation and set it up shop in the UK and thinking that you're going to go in one direction, and then COVID coming in and obliterating everything that you thought that you was going to put in and forcing you to pivot, puts you in the perfect opportunity, in the perfect place for you to get to where you are today. But in that present moment, you didn't know what was happening or that it would lead you here, but you still made the decision to pivot, and that was the best decision you could have made. That's an amazing story. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was definitely like a doom and gloom time because we just fundraised. We like spent a bunch of money on like top machinery to create like never seen before like customs. Like we did a few like early artifacts. You might be able to find them somewhere like the Minecraft, the Apex Legends, and we were really set on that direction. And then when it hit in, like, we didn't have enough runway to keep going. We had to like make decisions to shut everything down, sell machinery, liquidate stock. And it was definitely like a pivotal moment in the Artifact journey. But looking back at it, it's like what you said, it kind of, that pivot caused us to be in the position that we are now. And it was a great like learning experience, I think, for everyone.
Let's go back to the Chiswick studio, because I had the lucky chance to go there one time, and I remember seeing Whis scooting around on his little scooter, seated scooter, eating a sandwich. I remember all the machines you guys had, all the toys. They had so many toys, guys. That place was just an Artifact community member's dream. Like, literally, they've just made it all happen. And there was a rug. It was an IKEA receipt rug. Oh my god, I fell in love with that so much. Where is it, Zap? Is it still around?
I don't
Can
know.
I have
It got
it?
liquidated somewhere.
No.
No, but that spot was like a great hub of creativity. We just launched the company. We had this like really cool office and loads of creative people and like all the tools to make anything happen. And I think it was just like crazy reality check when COVID came in, that we were like, we have to make decisions to change this. And we still have like amazing memories from that point. I remember like Chris, Benoit came down, and we were really in the early stages of inception of Artifact, like officially, where we all kind of left our previous things. And it was definitely a sad time having to close it down, because like now Artifact's a fully remote company. We don't see any of our team or people day to day. We all work on different Google Meets, Zooms, whereby, but like definitely do miss and do think like what would happen with Artifact if we were all in one building, having fun and creating and executing together. So it's definitely a dystopian future, but I think the future of businesses are built by remote companies, because I think there's more benefits to being remote than there is in person. Just as simple as like you can acquire talent from any location, which I think is a huge bonus. But I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, and no risk of anybody throwing your lunch in the bin, which is what happened to me. But we'll move on to Compound. Compound, I want to hear from you as well. Let's see what you got.
So, Zap, you said something early on that really resonated with me, is that you had built up a really strong skill in building grassroots communities, right? That resonates with me. Through Instagram is what you said that you learned those skills. So I guess my question is how have you applied what you've learned the early days of building Instagram communities to where you're at now throughout your journey?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's hard to pinpoint the like specifics of it, but like one example I'd like to highlight is when we started Artifact, there was nothing. Like before we even raised money, it was just an Instagram account. Chris, being the like most amazing or talented creator I've ever met with the skill of CGI, we're like, okay, let's make these CGI viral videos combining all of our expertise of content. And that's really what kickstarted Artifact. Like if you go to the first post, it's like me with like a Thanos gauntlet with like a crazy Iron Man shoe, and then we did an Avengers shoe, and like we knew what was trending at the time. So like at the time, Marvel was the biggest thing with like Infinity War and Endgame coming out, and the whole internet was talking about it. So we created our content to that specific theme in a way where it was made to go viral. And the same thing with the Cybertruck sneaker. Like Elon Musk was owning the internet at the time of that announcement. So us kind of utilizing that to get what we're doing out into the world. And I think that's the biggest struggle most businesses have. There's like millions of people who have amazing ideas, but to build that initial community, you need to get people to like question or like be interested in your content. So I think combining that skill and knowledge, and especially with the creator side, like Benoit also has a lot of these talents in terms of creation, like finding independent artists or people that have the potential to be something big and like providing them with the tools. So I think that just the unique mix of us three coming together and like putting all of our talents into one thing and like hyper focusing on it was sort of the key for us to get out. And then we all say this is like Artifact wouldn't be Artifact if it wasn't the three of us combining sort of our skill sets. And that's why I think it's super special, because with most companies, it's regularly like one founder or maybe two co-founders. It's a pretty unique situation to have three co-founders, and I think the reason for that is we had prior business experience where we didn't have founders or people that things worked out well, and we came into this without ego, and our main goal was like do the coolest thing with Artifact.
No, that was an amazing answer. And I completely agree is when you have 2 to 3 founders and you all have different skill sets and different strengths and weaknesses, those things combined can really, really form a powerful team, especially when you're all previously business minded. One follow-up question is, after Instagram, when you guys realized that you were starting to build a real community, what was the natural progression of platforms that you decided would be the next platform needed to kind of bring the community together and push the Artifact movement?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It was quite interesting. So, like, I was predominantly Instagram for the longest. Before then, I spent some time on Twitter, but then Twitter became not what it is today. It was just kind of slow and hard to get eyes on it. TikTok came about, and that was something that Chris was really passionate about in terms of like short form content that gets spread pretty viral. So I think Chris really pushed the needle to get Artifact on TikTok, and we gained like 1 million followers in like 3 to 6 months. And then we came back to Twitter when the crypto and the NFT crowd kind of made it the predominant social media for engaging and community building. And actually, prior to even us coming on Twitter, it was Discord. Like us all being gamers and using Discord day to day, we actually built Artifact on Discord. We had the channel where we had our first team, and we used Discord as our main communication with WhatsApp. So it was kind of just a natural evolution of like Instagram, Discord, then migrating to Twitter, and then having TikTok as kind of this new experimental platform, which is focused on a younger audience and getting them interested in what we're doing.
Yeah, man, that was amazing to hear. So appreciate you.
Thank you.
I got a question too. Let me jump in real quick. Sorry, Ferry. You said that the leading situation, right? You guys figured out what to do because of what was happening at the moment. With the examples you gave about Iron Man and Elon Musk and things of that nature. Do you still hold that same opinion when it comes to the present moment, right? Because we see where we are in Web3, we see what's happening here in this sector. Do those present hype news flashes, do they make you kind of sway in the direction you want to take things now, or do you have a set trajectory that you're staying on regardless of what's happening in the present moment?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's different. I think early stages, that sort of content was kind of less like, yo, we're doing something dope. We need more eyeballs on us. And the only way to do that is doing crazy things that people don't do and like getting people's attention. So, like, the early stages were just focused on like either creating viral buzz so we get eyes and we have that market. And I think we successfully achieved that. And I think now the priority is we have the community. It's more about empowering the community and growing the brand together. Some of the earlier stuff we did, like we even say some of it could be seen as gimmicky, but we were just experimenting and just trying to get our message out there. And at the time, like, no one really cared. Like, I remember a key moment. We had an exhibition in E3 in 2019. There's even some YouTube videos on this if anyone's interested. But we were there pitching virtual sneakers, and we had a projection mapping arcade booth that Chris Lee set up with a pair of Jordans and different skins going on them. And like, we had zero traction. Everyone thought like, what the hell are these idiots doing? And I think things like that just forced us to like push harder in terms of like, we know this is the future and like we need to push it. So I think it's more like in the present moment is just like catering to the community and like helping onboard new people into this because still like this NFT space is very small. We can see there's like not many players and there's FUD wars and there's a lot of crazy thing that happens day to day. And for like everyone and the brand and the space, like the space needs to evolve together. And I think Artifact's in the best position just based on our community. Like, we have the most creative community in the game. And that's what we really think the like utility of all of this is to like empower the next generation of creators, and that's the vision we had from the beginning, and that's what we're still pushing.
Okay, so if you guys are, and I see you guys are doing that, empowering the creators, because everything that we're experiencing as a community showcases that same point. But let's say the creators are into something that go in a different direction from what you guys have up as the point of merging worlds in this present moment, right? We know the footwear is coming. We all hyped about that, and super hype about that, right? The gamification, tokenization, and the technological side of things. We know that you guys focus on those three the most. Say you have someone who's a creator that's interested in taking things in another direction, but still makes sense to integrate into the sector. Are you guys looking to expand Artifact in that manner as well?
I think the answer is yes. I think just to like summarize it, Artifact has been like an agile company with innovation in the DNA from day one. We've ticked and tacked and pivoted multiple times, and like I think a good example is like in our roadmap, we always knew that in a virtual world you'll need avatars. It just wasn't our priority at the time. We were focused on more the wearables, and then we saw sort of what happened with the PFP situation, and that the community was demanding that they wanted avatars. So then we fast tracked the CloneX project that was planned for a later date. So I think us being still like a startup, we operate like we're super agile. So whatever we see, like technology can't predict it. Loads of people ask for like 5-year, 10-year roadmaps. Even the current boom of AI technology and how that's gonna reshape the whole internet, we're always on the lookout for new ways to build a brand in better directions and better ways.
Cass, do you have any questions?
I don't know. You guys are getting so much good information out. I was just like listening in, like I wasn't even a speaker, but quick one thing I just want to throw out there. I actually had been following Zaptio for a long time, and I didn't even realize like who he was in Artifact until I started going through some like old pictures, and I saw he did this shoot with like LV like hollow mask from like Bleach, and it was like so iconic. I had it on my wallpaper, like on my laptop for like years. And so when I finally realized it was him, I was like floored. I was like, dude, what the hell? So what I want to ask you, because Z, I know you got a real thing for clothes, not just like shoes, but what is it that drew you to like fashion and clothes, and what is it about it that, keeps you passionate about it?
Yeah, I think it comes down to like the creativity of it. Like I see myself as a creative, but not like a traditional. Like I'm not a blender expert. I'm not the best at drawing, but I feel like clothes and fashion is like a way of expression. And I've always been on the like more extreme side of it with some of like my outfits on Instagram. I like more shocking things or things that are like completely different. But for me, it's like a form of self-expression and a way I can like express my creativity without just sitting down and drawing for 10 hours. But that's funny. I didn't know about that Bleach thing, but that's another thing that went super viral. And it's funny at that time, I have like some hidden Easter eggs in some of my captions from even 2018, hinting at this inception of Artifact with like the future is coming. And I recently just looked through those and just like laughed at the statuses, because at the time everyone was like, was this guy talking about like he's delusional? And then we made it happen. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, to say the least.
All right, I got some.
They just didn't know, Kat. They just didn't know.
All right. No,
Sorry,
fair. I
Draco.
don't want to keep going because, bro, I'll keep these firing off, bro. Quick draw McGraw over here. I got something ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, question about this, right? Like Cass said, we always knew that you were into the fashion side of things and you were executing things with the fashion side of things, right? And we all know fashion and music is synonymous. Streetwear and music, and usually hip hop, is synonymous, right? Because they both lead the way in curating and directing culture. So my question to you is how, or what are your thoughts on what we see happening within the music space, right? We just saw Drake having an AI song come out that went viral, even though it wasn't Drake. It was just the utilization of his sound and his vocals. What are your thoughts on that? And how do you see, or do you see, Artifact implementing anything that can go along with the expansion of that type of growth with the technology, utilizing AI in that manner as well, just in the Artifact type of way?
100%. I think for me, like personally, like I started my first brand, I think in like 2014, and it wasn't a success. It was a failure. I spent a lot of money on production, couldn't market it, and then spent a lot of time in the fashion industry, and I actually hated it. I felt like traditional like brands are all based on like pumped up hype and just this exclusivity that doesn't really exist, but just kind of like snobbishness related to it. That's why the Artifact was super exciting for us, because we had similar experiences and like understanding how these like fashion industries work. And I feel like there's a new culture of like internet kids, where I think everyone who's in this space is technically in part of that, in my mind, new culture. And I think this new generation is going to create their own way and the new culture, like new industry in a sense. Like I spent this whole week listening to AI covers of songs that shouldn't exist, and I love it. And I think it's just showing like people want things, and now they have the tools to make something that would never happen possible, like a Kanye cover of like an old school classic song, and they're making it and they're going viral. And traditional businesses, they're like, well, what do we do? And they have to pivot and reinvent new rules. But I think this whole generation of people using the internet to form community, to form friendships, and build things is going to just take over the whole world by storm. And that's how we kind of like looking at the fashion element of Artifact, we try to reinvent it. So like the distribution mechanic was something that was never done before, and giving access to everyone who had a clone for the footwear, for the clothing. It's like a guaranteed thing. You're part of the community. You get access to it. If you don't want it, you don't need it. But that's how we came about it. It wasn't like a fast-paced thing. But yeah, just going back to it, I think there's a whole new culture forming where music, AI, tech, NFTs, collectibles, everything's fusing into one. And I really think gaming is going to be the big catalyst at the end of the day to like bring this to a lot of people.
Got my giblets going. I appreciate that. Ferry, I'm a chill for a minute, because sheesh.
No, I actually love your questions because mine are quite basic. I'm just curious about some really, really old stuff, like your obsession. I wouldn't say obsession. Yeah, obsession or fascination with Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah.
She had to.
That's an
She read
interesting
that
one.
off like she wasn't sure she was saying the right name for a second.
Yeah, no, I think it comes down to I've always been like a gamer, a nerd, or like into things. And then I just like, for me, that moment, like I remember my dad bought me the booster pack, the Kaiba booster pack that came with the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And like that was the ultimate flex as a kid. Like everyone's trading cards and you've got the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And that's kind of like the same thing with NFTs. It's that collectible status in a sense. And like I was a big fan of the animes and just love it. I've got like 2 Blue Eyes tattoos on my body for life. But for me, I think it's just more like I just love things, and Blue Eyes White Dragon holds a like special memory in like my childhood. And we even did some Artifact like non-official ones a while ago that are still somewhere on the internet. But just like a whole brand is merging worlds, and that's what we were trying to do. Like me, Chris, and Benoit, we all share like gaming interests. Chris was a huge Pokemon collector. I was a Yu-Gi-Oh collector. Benoit was Magic the Gathering. We all play different video games. But all of these sort of industries or cultures, they all connect. And that's why I think we're seeing a huge boom of like new brands or content that's focused on nostalgia, because we're all in the same boat that we grew up with earlier primitive technology like playing cards, and now it's the natural evolution to we can do this digitally and have way more utilities connected to it. So it's just a natural progression in my mind.
There was no bigger flex than pulling up to school with a Charizard or a Blue Eyes White Dragon or multiple of them and showing them off to all your friends. So I did the same thing, and it absolutely is the natural progression now that I'm an adult with real money to want to collect NFTs and be in this space of digital collectibles. It's just kind of in my DNA at this point. And I think everybody here can relate to that, honestly.
100%. I think, like, for me, the craziest, like, full circle moment, or not the craziest, but a crazy one, was Franelations, who's in the community. So Franelations used to run the biggest YouTube sneaker blog, and this guy had everything. Like, any shoe that was unreleased or friends or family, the guy would be the first one making a video flexing. I used to watch his videos. I'm like, damn, I wish I could have a collection like this dude. And he's the ultimate collector. He has, like, Yu-Gi-Oh on open boxes, Pokemon on open boxes. Like, the guy's the hardcorest collectors of them all. And when these NFTs started, like when we started Artifact, I hit him up and I was like, yo, this is the future. Like, let's make you some like shoes, blah, blah, blah. We never ended up doing it. And then now seeing him go like full bull mode into this space and being like an avid collector just kind of like reinstates that fact that like people who collect it based on like their love for the art, their love for the community, or their just love for like the product, it's all translating into this virtual environment.
I agree 110%. I think all of us, I say this on Bad Take all the time, I think all of us who are part of this community are nerds in some type of way, and definitely collectors in some form or fashion. I agree with your statement that you made about actual fashion being a way to artistically express yourself, because I'm in the same boat as you. I don't really get down with the Blender or the 3D rendering tools, but I can put an outfit together that'll make sure you understand that I'm coming from a creative standpoint as well. And I like how you put it, having a shocking value, because I believe that's what it's about. Some type of polarization that makes someone feel some type of way. That's the same thing that artists strive for when they're creating with a paintbrush, or musicians strive for when they're creating their music. So that's the one thing that drew me.
No one wants to look like an NPC.
That's a
Let's put it
fact.
that way.
No one wants to look like an NPC. That is a fact. No one wants to look like the dude in the back of Street Fighter 2 just pumping his fist in the air, because you'll be forgotten straight up. So no, with that being said, how far do you want to take this fashion thing? Right? We all saw the lookbook for season 1, and I think it blew everyone's mind. I think we were kind of underwhelmed when we first essentially saw it, not knowing how far you guys were going to take it. But when you came out with that lookbook, it was like Christmas all over again. So do you want to have something set up where it's like the typical fashion houses, where it's different seasons or different lookbooks coming out, periodically throughout the year? Like, how are you guys, or how are you thinking about executing this, and how far do you want to take it?
Yeah, I think we're in an interesting position where we're not following any books on like the fashion seasons and the calendars. We're kind of like season 1 forging was a huge experiment, and we honestly made some mistakes. Like internally doing 10 full collections was something that sounded like a great idea, but when you're actually producing it, it's a huge amount of work. And we actually, like Travis, who's on our team, we produced it all ourselves. It wasn't kind of like, oh, here's a factory, here's how to do it. So like that was a huge undertaking for us doing that 10 collections, and hence why it took so long. But I think for us, it's more like a back and forth conversation with the community. We have a few different things that we're experimenting with. I think the NFC tag was a huge win that we did, and we're activating some things related to that will connect the dots a bit better. But also the reverse mechanic of like selling physical that anyone can buy with a credit card, and then allowing them to claim something from the physical is something we're interested in. But I think for us, it's like we're waiting for everyone to receive their product, see what everyone thinks, and change and go ahead with new strategies. And I think one of the coolest things is seeing people in AR hoodies. Like I've met people who don't know the brand Artifact, but they're like, oh, it's the brand with the hoodie with the wings. And I think people don't even realize how iconic that became, and it's like a staple of the community. So I'm excited for people to get all of the stuff that they have on the way and seeing it in the real world. And I think it's kind of like if you see someone out in an AR or an Artifact hoodie, you immediately have something in common with them. So it's a great like conversation start and like building community in real life, which I think is still very important for everyone. So I definitely see it being a huge part of the brand. I think the current like Air Force One forging is going to be huge for the whole community and get more people interested in like what is this world of people on the internet doing and like communities. And I think the community aspect is the strongest. Like people coming on these spaces, bad take, and like just building relationships is one of the key parts of this whole space. And it's like people make lifelong friends and communities, and it's a culture that the people are making. So we're just here to support it.
Appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you dropping bad take, because we out here working, man. We out here for the community, with the community every single day, and we love every step of that we taking with each other. So with that being said, you're absolutely correct, man. I met a guy in Trader Joe's who had the Artifact hoodie on looking at some bananas. And I'm like, yo, he like, yo, Dre Mill. Yeah, well, it was crazy. And that's the beautiful part about it, right? Because even in Miami, we were down at Art Basel. It's 80 degrees. People are sweating their life away. I'm around running with no shirt on, and I see a dude out there drinking coffee with an Artifact hoodie on, just to showcase that he had the Artifact hoodie. So it definitely has that type of love that it gives when people see it. So yeah, thank you for that as well. I appreciate that. Well, matter of fact, let me piggyback off of that with the communities, right? And you guys saying you're taking the understanding and the feedback from the community. We know at one point you guys were fully immersed into speaking with the community at all times, right? Whether it was on Twitter or Discord or things of that nature. Then we all know the timeline with the Nike acquisition and how that works, and how, it gets harder to jump on there and speak as directly with the community as you would like to. Do you think that that's something that you guys are looking to pivot in the future? Or are you looking more so for community members, community leaders like us, like Compound and I and Bad Take and Jack with Clone Spears and everyone else? Are you looking for them to do more of the communication with and for the community at this point?
Yeah, I honestly think it's a perfect blend of two, right? Like the founders, the team, like everyone's super passionate about the brand and we want to be there communicating at all times. We all have a shit ton of work to do. So it's hard to like balance that. I know internally we're planning a lot more spaces like this and getting more interaction between us and the community and building like in public together. But we also think that there's like people like yourselves hosting these spaces, like you guys are building the future, and we encourage everyone to like do what they do and build this thing together, because like Artifact's built by the community with the community. So like every time we see community events, we want to support them and get more involved and come down to these events and host more as well on our side. So I think it's just like a mutual partnership between us and the community, and we love seeing community taking initiative and doing cool things and pushing the boundary even more than us. And we feel like our job isn't done until the community is doing better stuff than we are. And I think that's kind of like the ethos of the brand, is like we want people to put the bar even higher than what we're doing and continue building.
We heard that shit almost fly. You should have let that mug just slipped up out of there. That shit, we heard it, but we appreciate it.
By the way, I was the guy in the hoodie drinking coffee that Dre was talking about. He didn't want to throw me under the bus, but I was rocking that hoodie. I didn't care how hot it was because I wanted to meet other community members, and I knew it was a signal. So Zap touched on that, knowing I knew that it was well. I knew I could meet some other Artifact people if I was rocking the hoodie. So. Shout out Coffee
That's how
Miami.
we started our relationship. Me seeing this guy, like, bro, it's crazy hot out here. What are you doing?
Yeah, I met you, didn't I? And now look how it worked out.
It's
baby.
love
Let's
at first
go.
sight, man.
You see, it works. So
This bromance is cute and gross at the same time. I would like to welcome anybody that wants to come up on stage and bring your questions. We would love that. But whilst we're waiting, Zap, what was it like meeting Travis Scott before he was famous?
yeah, that's actually a funny one. So I've had a weird thing that like being on social media so much and growing, I could spot talent before they exploded. So like Travis Scott just started coming out as like an underground SoundCloud rapper. And then I was at school at the time and I saw he was doing a pop-up at a vape store in London. And I was like, after school, I'm just going to go there. And I met him and there was no cues there. It was kind of like he was an underground, unknown rapper, but I just had a feeling that he'd be huge. And met with him. I got him to shout out one of my brands, and it was just a cool meeting experience. But I've had that same experience, I think, 3 or 4 times. The other one was with Juice WRLD. So Juice WRLD just released his song on SoundCloud. It had like 20,000 plays, and I reached out to him saying like, "You're going to be huge." He followed me back and then asked me for some shoes, and then a month later, it completely exploded. So it's been very strange. I've had that as well with Virgil, when Virgil was Kanye West's stylist, and he used to do DJ sets in the UK. I used to go down, and he was just like a normal dude, just Kanye's stylist, and then exploded. So yeah, I don't know, just being at the right time, right place, and understanding like talent, I think. But yeah, I've had loads of weird experiences like that. They don't really make sense, but everything aligns.
I also remember seeing your pictures on Instagram and saying, I'm going to work for this guy one day. And here we are. And I'm saying now, I want to be this guy one day. So watch out, Zap.
Damn, you got some competition.
Definitely. We have Anya up on stage. Hello, how are you?
Hello. Good morning. I'm so happy to be up here with the incredible and elusive and insanely busy Zap. I'm so glad that you were able to make time and speak with everyone. This past time that you've been up here has been really, really nice to just hear you and everything. I know for me, even though, we're all like working with like the community and behind the scenes and doing everything, it's really nice to be able to kind of get these times where we just like hang out with you because it's incredible. So thank you so much for being up here.
No, anytime, and I definitely want to do more of things like this. And I know Chris and Benoit, like, we all want to create these spaces where we can just like vibe out and disattach from all of the day-to-day that goes on. But I think these spaces are super important, and just like it really helps build that community and like relationship with everyone.
Well, I
1,000,000,000% agree. Anya, please go ahead.
No, yeah, absolutely. I had a quick question for you, or maybe it's not quick, I don't know. Is that, I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey leading RTFKT, and where everyone had been beginning with all the questions of the early days, kind of into the middle of the journey. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with breaking your back after the clone drop, and what you felt like were some of the biggest drivers to pushing to where we are now, and how that's affected you as a founder?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Not what I was expecting. But yeah, so like we dropped clones, and I went on a horse riding trip with my girlfriend, and a horse threw me off and I broke my back. I was like 2 centimeters from losing like lower body function. So luckily I dodged the bullet. And at that time we were planning the New York event with Takashi. I was in the wheelchair at the time, but like I was so motivated by what we were doing. I was just on my meds, still grinding, and I was just like bedbound, and like RTFKT just kept me excited about things. And I actually had a pretty speedy recovery and made it down to the New York event. They were like planning to have like wheelchair access for me. But yeah, I think all of these like experiences just like help build people as a character. And like for me, it was kind of like a reality check of like how fragile humans are. Like a simple thing like riding a horse can end up in like a lifelong thing. But it also reminded me of like early RTFKT. Like after we shut down the workshop, I was a nomad for like a year and a half, and I was just in hotels around the world trying to get my US visa, and all I would do is just work. And I think that was like crucial that happened for this to happen. I think everything has a reason in its own way. So I think all these moments that things are down or sentiment's low is an opportunity for growth, I think, for the community, for us, and for anyone really in like day-to-day life.
Only Zap could make breaking your back on a horse accident positive. Don't try that at home.
Yeah, I was almost paralyzed, but it really turned out great, and it led us to where we are today. Yeah, it's a great outlook.
Cool
Optimism is great.
well. I got like a Professor X electric wheelchair that could go pretty fast. I was zooming around. I actually enjoyed that. for a little bit, but it was, not the best situation.
You know, you better be careful now because there's going to be renders of you popping up with you looking like in a wheelchair with your superpowers and everything. So it's you've spoken it into existence.
Oh man, I don't need any more memes, mate.
We also have Yobs on stage. Hello.
Yo, what's going on? I actually just wanted to come up here, just throw some love to Zap. I've actually had the absolute honor and pleasure of like working with him and watching him work. I've never seen anyone with more like dedication and passion to like anything. Like when we was there, it was definitely like him on the phone like 24, like every single hour we were there. He was just on the phone like in some sort of like meeting with, planning some sort of world domination at the time. But yeah, like just like every time he shouted me like to do something, when he's like telling me the plans, my mind was always like blown. He's like, this guy's like 3,000 steps ahead every single time. I remember him like, this was, I don't know, I didn't even really know too much about blockchain. NFTs didn't even exist in my mind. And he's talking to me about this app that he's going to create with like sneakers and digital coins and like trading and all of this. And I was like getting blown away. And I remember he like imported, I don't know where he got it from, but there was like 3 or 4 boxes. It blew my mind when I saw it, of like the rarest sneakers you could ever like come across. He had like 3-4 boxes full of them, and he was just sitting in the studio before any of this like AI, motion capture, anything, but like 3D scanning with his iPhone. Like 300 sneakers back to back is actually bonkers. But like I just wanted to maybe ask about like that, like how did you even come across like the sneakers I was looking at were like bonkers, man. But could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a funny one, man. That took me back to memory lane. The worst part about it, those sneaker scans never got used, and I probably wasted like a week sitting there scanning them manually. But I had a friend, it's called Maddie. He runs something called Archive DNA, and he's like an insane sneaker that has pretty much everything. And at the time, we were like planning different virtual try-ons, and this was very early Artifact. This was like in 2019. So we had an idea to like scan a bunch of like super rare sneakers and allow them to be usable in different virtual worlds. So I hit him up. I was like, this is what we're doing. Could you lend me 300 of your shoes, the rarest ones? You can come and watch me to make sure they're all safe. Like, we're going to have them locked down. And then he was like, yeah, let's do it. Sent me the sneakers. And then, I was there for about, it was like 6-hour shifts a day scanning 300 shoes with like photogrammetry app on my iPhone. And we still have those scans, but I don't think they'll see the light of day. But that was definitely a interesting experience. And Yobs was really the early OG Artifact days. Like, we had the Bone Trooper drop, the Apex Legends, and we're doing a lot of insane things at the early days. And I think some of that will resurface in a few years. It'll be some of the like rarest artifacts. And I remember those drops, like we released the Bone Troopers and the sales were like super slow, and people were doubting like if we're able to execute what we wanted. And it was just like a wild experience to see the journey from the start to where it is now.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to shout you out again and just like say I appreciate you for everything. You've always like put me on with like the art stuff and stuff, and now even with Artifact. If it wasn't for like you guys, we wouldn't even have like the projects that we have. So like big up you guys, always pushing for like, the creators, for everybody else to like, come up alongside you. So it's been an absolute honor and pleasure. Thank you, my guy.
Thank you, Yobs, and definitely need to give you your flowers. Clone Force is definitely setting the bar high for what creators can do in this space, and I appreciate you guys building that, and we're here to support.
Yob, say thank you.
Thanks, man. I didn't want to take up too much time in it. I know there's like he's a well sought after guide. You know what I mean? People want to ask him questions.
I know, and I didn't even realize we have 4 minutes left, and this is very, very awkward for me. So, Taiwan, I want to pass it to you, and I think maybe this might be the last one. Zap, can you just promise that you'll do this again with us?
100%.
No, give it to someone else. I talk to him a lot.
Go
Yeah.
to
Okay.
There's one funny thing I want to jump out here so everyone knows. Tommy, I'm exposing you. So I've known Tommy for years. He was big in the custom sneaker game, like doing crazy 3D things, like with next level technology. And we just started Artifact, and I hit him up. I was like, yo, Tommy, we want to work together. We need to make the shoes together. And he kindly declined.
Why'd you expose me, man?
Man, I had to. It's the story. But now
All right.
we're running things up together. But I just thought it was a very interesting situation of how like we just came back and reconnected after all these years.
I know.
He's a legend.
But yeah. Give the question to someone else if it's the last question. Yeah.
Man of the people, Tommy.
I was gonna say, I know Tevi or President, you guys have been in a lot of spaces with the Bad Take team, asking, speculating. So let's start to one of you guys.
I say that you guys got to do a rock paper scissors battle to see who gets the last question. But I don't know if we got that time. So go ahead.
I just wanted to shout Zap out. I feel like sometimes you do a thankless job, so just on behalf of the creators and like the hardcore fan base, just wanted to give you a big thank you and keep bringing that fire.
Appreciate it.
Tevi, get us, man.
All right, I'm going to sneak in quick. First off, thank you for coming on this space and spending some time with us. But what I wanted to ask you, right? So one of the things that drew me to Artifact and the clones was just the anime aspect of it, like all the different traits that are built into the collection. So I've always been curious, what is your favorite anime?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd have to say Dragon Ball Z. I'm just a big fan of like the art and the character styles. I think they're some of the coolest characters, and like I love Vegeta, Kid Trunks, and you can see a lot of the traits resembling some of our inspirations from anime, and that's why I think like CloneX is a legendary collection. We have like Takashi Murakami, an artist who we were all huge fans of, and we tried to reach his attention early Artifact by paying homage to his designs, and we managed to bring him on and kind of like integrated all of our passions into one collection, and you can see all the references to all the different animes. But I think for me it was definitely Dragon Ball Z. Didn't get the Super Saiyan hair in there, but there's some definite iconic ones.
Zap, man, when is your birthday, bro? We got a lot of things in common, bro. What's your birthday?
It's May 11th, man. Gonna be in Tokyo. We're gearing up for the event that we're doing with Takashi, and it's going to be a movie. I know the community is planning some live streams for people who can't make it out, and we want to make sure people who can't come down still can enjoy the experience and see what we've got cooking up there.
Was trying to keep that a secret, Zap, but thanks. We appreciate the leak. It's all good.
I'm the leak king, or was. Need to get back on it.
This is a good start.
I had to shut off the valve a little bit on the leaks.
But man, no more leaks, man. No more leaks.
Since we got Z and High Spirits, and he also wants to talk about leaks, is there anything you are personally excited about to come in the Artifact future?
There's too much to even contemplate. I think it was a good question, but I think I'm just excited to meet more of the community members and show people what we've been cooking up, because there's hundreds of thousands of hours by our team, and we have an amazing team of some of the best creators and people in the space, and we're really excited to just keep expanding, building, and showing people what we're cooking up. I'll leave it at that.
Zap, I got a quick question if you have a sec.
Yep.
Cool. Nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you for this. My question is really about corporate machinations, right? Like, how do you kind of, as a creative, right, reconcile, as a creative that's played outside the lines of legality with IP, right, such as PlayStation, Iron Man, Tesla, etc., in an authorized fashion, right, now working for a notoriously litigious and corporate brand like Nike, right, that time and time again has gone after creator, both big and small, who express themselves, right, that sort of have that similar origin story to you guys did in those early days. Sort of how do you reconcile that, and what is that tension like inside Nike there, right, between pro creator and pro corporate?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think for us, we're part of Nike. We're a Nike brand. We follow Nike process, but we're also given the ability to stay independent and focus on creators developing IP and not infringing on other IP. We understand that sort of IP is everything in the world of creativity and art, and having boundaries of developing new IP that doesn't infringe on existing is kind of a fine line. And we urge our creators to find a way to bring their own style and originality into designs. But with Artifact, that's what we do, and that's what we're pushing, and we're pushing our creators to do the same.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much to Zap for giving us your time. I know you're very, very busy. Thank you to my guest co-hosts, Dre and Compound, and my lovely best friend, Cass, who loves to take the piss out of me. I'm going to close it with a song by Illa Orbis called Demons and Angels. This guy's a fucking goat. Yeah, I love you guys. See you next week.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great
Appreciate
day.
you, Zap.
Peace out.
Appreciate you,
Bye.
Pat.
Much
Thank
love.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Keep the artifact pull off in my spaceship. Closed eyes and stream away. Light years, we see the waves. Colorful, this lifestyle is the centerfolds. Might be some alien in your DNA. Shoes off when you step in, please. Murray call me flowers when I plant these seeds. We can go for hours, this meteor shower. Aura speaks in symphonies.
Sorry for swearing.
Angel in the skies, good shorty bad.
On
Bye,
that
guys.
take 6 p.m.
Supernovas when you get back.